Hello everyone and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes released on the BBC iPlayer and aired on BBC television in the UK from Monday the 25th of July 2022. I trust you are all very well and I hope that you all have had a very nice week. Shameful week for me this week because I've had to witness the end of another soap I adored in the early 2000s, and that was Neighbours. The final episode is airing tonight as we record this, but by the time you watch this, it had already been aired, and I will be a blubbering mess. Rob, will you be a blubbering mess after the end of Neighbours?
Well, hello everybody. How are we on this week? Do you know what? And it's a terrible thing to say. Out of all the soaps that have ever aired in the UK, including El Dorado, weirdly, Neighbours is the only soap that I've never watched a single episode of. It's just never come into my life. I was always a home and away viewer when it used to be on ITV after CRTV. That was the one that we used to watch in our house. Literally never watched an episode of Neighbours ever. Having said that, I fully extend all my sympathies to what the Neighbours fans are going through right now, because I can imagine, one day we'll be having this. That'll be happening to us.
Wow.
Show, one day. Hopefully not for a very long time. And Clenners will make sure it doesn't happen because he's a genius, which we shall be discussing very soon in the podcast. But no, I fully give all my sympathy to the Neighbours fans. I hope you enjoy the last episode. From the brief things I've seen online about it, it looks like it's going to be a cracker. So enjoy it. I'm very, very sorry. Get drunk. That'll make it easier. Just drink wine.
No, I wish I could, but I can't. I would love to, but I think I'd enjoy it more if I wasn't getting drunk. I think a lot of the fans would enjoy it. They need the last bit of Jason.
I'm going to be obliterated.
No, you won't. No, you won't, because you have to do the podcast. You have to do the final ever podcast.
Drunk, I don't care. We're going to do sack me on the last week.
I would never. Hey, there's also been a big debate online this week on Twitter. And I warned you that I was going to ask you a big question this week.
I have no idea what he's going to ask me. He does this.
So the box sets.
Me. What?
I do. The box sets. EastEnders box sets.
Yes.
Do you or do you not skip the intro?
No, I do not. And I'm very glad that you brought this up, because too bloody right I don't. That's part of the process of watching an episode of EastEnders.
Wow.
No,
do you want to know something?
I don't do it on I don't do it on Netflix either. Netflix gives you that option. I never skip the intro of any show. As far as I'm concerned, the opening titles are part of the experience of watching a TV show.
I mean, you're going to hate the hell out of me now.
Well, yeah, I do, because I think that's disgusting.
I do.
The iconic Simon May theme tune. You're like, no, I don't need that in my life. What is wrong with you?
I've heard it enough. I've heard it in over 16 years worth of classic EastEnders, and God knows how much watching EastEnders now. I think I know enough of EastEnders theme to be able to just cheekily skip it forward. Don't you think?
Absolutely not.
Let us know, listeners or watchers, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast apps. Let us know. Do you skip or do you not skip the intro when you watch the EastEnders box set? If indeed you do watch the EastEnders box set on BBC iPlayer, I'll be really interested to know, and give us a reason why you do or don't. And there is no right answer. Anyway, Rob, it's about time we start talking about this week's EastEnders.
You know what they call skippers? Quitters. That's what they call them.
We are moving on now to Suki's story, and it has been a big week for the Panesars. Finally, the Panesars are getting a little bit of notice on the show. And as we said before we started recording, Rob and I were talking about the fact that it's been nice that the Panesars actually are getting a little bit of background history now. Finally. It's finally come. It's only taken a whole era of Sen for it to happen. And Clenshaw comes around and gives us loads all at once in one week.
Love you, Clenners.
We do. Oh, Clenners, your claws.
Clenners.
You can scratch your claws into me anytime. So we found out that Suki still has quite a soft spot for Eve. And Eve and Suki's relationship grew closer when Eve was comforting Suki because she felt like her family was moving away from her. And Eve said that she didn't kill Jags, that she may have put Jags in prison, but she wasn't the one who did the blow that killed Jags, and related that to more story about Eve's history as well. She had a twin sister who died presumably in a car accident, but we don't really know much more about it. Quite intriguing.
Oh, but we will, Alex. We will, Alex. And do you know what? I feel like we will. And that's the lovely feeling to feel, isn't it? Like we're not just going to get thrown a crumb and we'll just be expected to feast on that for a year. This crumb will grow. This crumb will grow, and we'll have a lovely piece of bread by the end. No, I loved it. I absolutely loved this. Now, I have to say, the whole Suki and her sexuality confusion thing. At first, I wasn't sold on it immediately. I didn't know if it was necessary. I didn't know whether it was just an additional layer that Suki didn't really need. But this week, I suddenly I'm on board with it because there were some great scenes this week. Amazing. I mean, let's first talk about that kiss. That kiss, though. I mean,
you went mad over that. The message I got from you that night.
Honestly, if you're listening, Balvinder Sopal, you dirty mare. I mean, the throat grab.
It was hot, wasn't it? I know.
That was some kinky stuff, wasn't it? I liked that. If you ever see me in the street, I'll do it. I'll let you. Oh, I love that sort of thing. Anyway, I thought. What is wrong with us this week? I honestly, the Eve and Suki thing really ramped up this week. And I think it's fairly safe to say that they slept together this week, didn't they? They, after the kiss, because you don't. I'm not being funny, Alex. You don't do that kiss and then don't sleep with the person that's done it to you.
I thought they hadn't. I thought they hadn't. Oh, it feels impossible, but I don't think they had.
No. If you get a kiss like that, you don't then go, right, I'll go home then. See you later. No. It's a Black Sabbath. Those two had their first night.
I mean,
it's a great thing.
I mean, Suki's a hard rock fan.
I know. I love that whole conversation as well. Just little character stuff, just being thrown in,
growing
just because these characters needed it. The character stuff. Oh, Leonard, I love you. It was amazing. Alvinda Soper was amazing this week, as was Heather Pierce, I think her name is. Both of them sensational. Loved it. Loved that whole thing of Eve revealing about her sister, and the fact that her parents, she has a very difficult relationship with her parents. So, are we going to meet more Unwins? Is that on the cards? Are they going to build Eve up a bit more? I would love that, because at the minute Eve is sort of like she's in the Slaters with Stacey, and I love their friendship. Stacey and Eve are fantastic together, and now obviously she's sort of moving into this storyline with Suki. But are we going to meet some more of her family at some point? Are we going to explore this stuff that happened with her sister? So the potential is there, and the fact that we just had all of that revealed this week. Oh, I loved it, and all of a sudden Eve is a fully fleshed out character, or she's getting there.
Yes,
that's all that she needed. Oh. Mwah!
That's what I mean. It was just so nice to have that scene with them both in the kebab shop, drinking beer, eating chips, and as you say, they fleshed them out so much, and you learned so much about both the characters, and delved so much more into their
revamp, hasn't it?
They have. It's an inside-outside set. As I'd like to say, an inside-outside set. You could see the window, people walking by. It actually felt, again, saying about the characters were fleshed out. With this new set, it felt like that the actual setting was fleshed out as well. It felt like McClunky's was an actual chicken shop that people were visiting. Yeah. It didn't feel like this kind of place, it didn't feel fake. I don't know. Small things entertain me, and that did. I messaged you about that. I was very excited about it.
He did.
You messaged.
He did.
Yeah, you messaged me and said, "Oh my god, that kiss!"
So hot, and you were like, "Oh my god, McClunky's looks gorgeous."
I did. So I was very pleased about that. That was the thing I was very excited about. But no, the whole Suki.
We all had stuff we enjoyed.
We did. I really enjoyed it, and it was very sad that Suki wasn't able to be. Didn't want to be open with her community about it. Eve was ready to take the next step, to have a relationship, take it, have something together. She thought Suki was there. Suki unfortunately wasn't. And so then Ash asked Eve out, and Eve took that as an opportunity perhaps to make Suki jealous. But when it came to the crunch, she wasn't quite up for it, was she? Because she saw Suki in the burger bar. I forget, the Walford East. And when Ash tried to kiss Eve, Eve kind of pushed her away and said, "No, I've fallen for someone else, someone who doesn't want me, and I haven't quite let her go yet." I mean,
now then,
so mature, this relationship.
Well, I know, but now, come on now. Let's just, even Ash for a second. The opportunity is there to do a big old love triangle here, isn't it? Do you think they're going to go down that route? I know at first Eve has kind of said, "Oh, no, I'm not interested, Ash, I'm not interested, Ash." But remember, those two did have a spark at one point before the Suki stuff started. And Ash clearly fancies her. So is that, and bearing in mind we've got the history of Suki and Peter, are they going to be able to resist the opportunity of basically having Suki sleep with two of her daughter's partners? So that to me feels like a very Suki thing to do.
It does me too, but it feels like that was almost the plan originally with Peter, and then they kind of forgot about it, and now they're kind of retrying it again with Suki. Because again, they've been put in this situation where Suki is, I would say Suki's a lesbian. I'd just say she's bisexual. And so it feels weird that that they're kind of now doing, they're contemplating the idea of this love triangle. Do you think that Ash would be the first one to find out about Eve and Suki, and whilst Eve and Ash are together?
Possibly.
Or do you think that
I can sort of see them having a moment in the surgery or something, and and then Ash just walks in on it. The surgery, by the way, which has now appeared.
This is another thing.
They managed to squeeze half the hospital into the flats next to the Vic.
Yeah, but are you surprised? Because they've done so much TARDIS work in that set at the moment. Like the laundrette has become like this whole new scene.
It's going to be the new Walford General. You know this, don't you? That's going to be there's going to be a lot of scenes in that surgery. We know how we could have got his leg fixed there, couldn't he? I hope they bring some nurses across. I fully expect Sonia to start doing some shifts in there soon.
Yeah,
it's going to be that sort of thing, isn't it? It's going to be that sort of thing. I don't mind
it though. I don't mind it. I liked it. For one, again, this is my fetish for sets, I suppose. But, for one, I'm pleased that they've actually finally done something with that building. That used to be used all the time. It was flats. There was a flat downstairs and a flat upstairs. There was 2 flats. And they used to have that. Mark used to live there.
Right. Okay.
The last time it was used was when Bianca and Ricky lived there. Before when Bianca had the miscarriage story. So back in like 96, 97. So it hasn't been used. It hasn't been used for such a long time, but it's always been there. And every time I saw that, I used to always say to Ben, like, "Oh, I wish they'd put someone in their flats." And Lisa, I'm glad they're doing something with them. It was every time. Ben can vouch for that.
I can imagine.
So I'm pleased that they've done something with those flats. And you say that they've put in like a whole hospital in there.
I'm being flippant. But it's very big.
But you are right. It is very big. And I thought it was quite nice also that it's looked upon by Number 1 Albert Square, which was the original GP surgery when Dr. Legg was introduced.
Nice.
So I thought that was nice. So I thought that was quite nice. I don't know if that was intentional, but I thought, that was a nice little nod. So this week was all about the sets for me.
Let's give Clemens even more points to say he totally meant to do that. I've decided next year I'm going to have the Clenners calendar. Change the Clenners. I think that would work, don't you? If we can design your own calendar. I'm sure it's 12 pictures to print online.
Well, I was going to say we could use those photos that we took of him while we were hiding in the bush that day when he was walking out of Elstree Studios. So it'd be fine.
Don't worry, Clenners. They were all perfectly tasteful pictures.
Especially the ones at your flat. I mean, not your flat.
So this story, where does it go from here? Because the week sort of ends with Suki and Eve sort of not really anywhere near as close as they used to be. So Eve has basically implied that she's in love with Suki now. Like she's falling for her. She's falling for her. And Suki obviously is doing that thing that Suki always does very well, where, she'll come across as the Ice Queen, come across as very cold, and then one left alone, you sort of see the vulnerability and regret of wishing that she wasn't like that. It feels like, and this is such an exciting thing for me to say, it feels like there is so much more planned to come for Suki and her family and the Panasars. And
it does feel a bit like that this era, doesn't it?
You don't realise how long it has felt to have that feeling.
To feel like that they actually have something plans in the pipeline.
Yeah. There is rather than much more to come.
Rather than let's throw this together and see our favourite. Let's be honest. The thing you and I used to say a lot was, "It is what it is," or "Let's throw it at the wall and see what sticks." And that is pretty much sums up maybe the last 3 years. It feels like, as you say, that something is happening here, and they know they've got a plan for it. It does feel different, and
really different.
And that's why it feels so exciting.
It's exciting. I can't wait. Genuinely, I cannot wait for Monday to see them. I genuinely cannot wait to tune in on Monday, and we'll still watch all 4 episodes all in one go because the show's really good at the minute. And I know I'm going to do that, and I know I'm going to have nothing left to watch for the rest of the week. I'm going to regret instantly. It's like having a big box of sweets that you think, well, that's going to last me the week, and I just stuff them all in my mouth in one go, and then I feel sick, and then. Regretful that I haven't got any.
Regretful.
Yes.
But do you know what else is odd about this? And perhaps this is something we should maybe sum up at the end, but I'm going to say it now because it's in my head. This is the summer season. This is the July, August season of EastEnders. This is when the story shouldn't be that big. They should just be kind of like plodding along.
People aren't international pop star this time last year. Can you imagine?
We did. And now, you know, this has been with them not meant to be competing because there's like a lot of sport on television, so they can't really compete against it. And yet they're going full guns blazing. And I just wish that more people knew about that. Like, hey, you know what? EastEnders actually is getting better, because it's still that kind of like, you were on the radio this week talking about something we'll talk about at the end of the show if I ain't want to gossip. And the presenter of the radio was kind of still making the kind of snarky remarks like, well, you know, I'm sure you're excited, but I'm not, because I'm too cool for EastEnders.
The interview when he did.
But it didn't even feel like it's still a kind of like a joke. It's still kind of like seemed to be kind of a bit cool to kind of say, EastEnders is rubbish now. And it's like, yes, it's had its downs, but it's on and up. And let's get excited and let's tell everyone about it rather than just kind of pour water on it before it's even had time to kind of develop.
The show is going to go through a massive growth spurt over the coming months, especially as we're going to Christmas. I mean, imagine Clenna's first Christmas, as you wish. Clenna's first Christmas.
Clenna's Christmas.
Clenna's Christmas. It's going to be a stunning thing. A stunning thing. And there's going to be, you know, and they're going to throw a lot of big things at us. You know, there's going to be some big stories that they are hoping to pull people back. And now the tactic here is the first big thing that they'll do might not be the massive sort of viewer pullback that they need, but you need to do a few of those for people to be able to confidently say to another person, no, you need to be watching EastEnders at the minute. It's really, really good.
Exactly.
And this is why. And then when they, you know, so, and it feels like the show knows exactly what it's doing again. And it feels a very, very, very exciting time to be an EastEnders fan. For many reasons, which we should be discussing at the end of the show for some stuff that was announced, and I cannot tell you how excited I am about it. So, in summary, Suki and Eve, love it. Can't wait for more. Love the development given to both characters this week. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Nina as well kind of showed up a bit more this week. Now, Nina and Ash.
Yes.
They've got an interesting little thing going at the moment because Nina is effectively Ash's boss at this point. We had a very kind of mad thing where Ash was apparently being blackmailed by a nurse at the hospital because she had helped. I would quite like to have seen some of this on screen. I won't lie to you.
Yes, that was again more building for Ash, but as he like you, it was sneaked in at the beginning of the week where Ash got a phone call and was like, "What do you want?" And then later on, we realised that's what the phone call was.
But this apparently, like Ash helped a patient die by euthanasia.
No. She didn't help him. She didn't help him die. She gave him advice of how he can assist someone for suicide.
Okay, that's not quite as bad.
Euthanasia.
Because I was going to say, that's a whole storyline that should have been shown on
screen.
I
know.
But do you know what? Fine. Because what it was mainly about was sort of establishing the Panasars behind the GP. I'm not entirely sure how exactly you own a GPs and how that's a business. There's many things about that sort of thing. I don't really. Because it's trust. Wrong. I just don't get it. Yeah,
the NHS works on trust. So it's essentially the NHS is private. But it's paid for by the government, so it's paid by private companies. The government paid private companies to look after it. So then the NHS, but it's then under the same umbrella as the NHS. That's not for everything, and I would like people to correct me how wrong I am. But I believe, especially with GP surgeries, and they will. I'm welcome to. But I believe with GP surgeries that you kind of buy the license from the NHS. Then you then kind of write out receipts and say, right, we've done this, and this, and then the NHS give you the money back for doing it. Do you see what I mean? So I believe that's how it works. So the NHS is free. Oh, you know, I know my NHS.
Clever stuff.
Socialism.
Yeah.
That's me. But yes, what about Suki and Rava, is it? Ravia.
Oh, yes.
Ravia.
Yes, now.
Because they went out for a meal, didn't they? Yeah,
yes, they did. And this was when Ash and Eve were on the other side of the restaurant, and Ash was kind of making a bit of a mess of herself, trying to come on to Eve, not knowing obviously what had gone on between Eve and Ash, and between Eve and Suki, completely oblivious to the fact that Eve was paying her no attention whatsoever, and was just sort of staring at Suki, and Suki was sort of staring at Eve, and wasn't really paying that much attention to Ravi either. But it seems quite obvious to me that Ravi is planning on making a move on Suki at some point. Mm-hmm. And Ravi, I also get the feeling, is the very last person on earth that Suki wants to know that she has had a bit of a dalliance with a lady.
Yes.
So that's going to come out at some point, and I'm really intrigued to sort of see where Ravi fits into the history of the Panesars, because there's a darkness about him, isn't there? There feels like something very unpleasant underneath the surface with Ravi. I don't know. And obviously being Daddy Panesar's brother, there's a lot of reveals to come out of that when Daddy Panesar first makes his appearance. I mean, so much stuff to come from the Panesars. So much stuff!
How do you think because we know, do you remember the guy who Phil talked to in prison? I forget the guy's name now. I apologise to the listeners. But Hottie. He's coming out of prison. We know he's joining the soap.
Yes.
How's he linked between all this as well then?
Well,
do you think he's linked somehow?
Well, I mean, presumably he's going to be related to Ravi in some way, I think. He's after
That's
Kheerat.
What I thought,
he's related to Ravi in some way, I think. And he was after information on Kheerat. We don't know why. We don't know what information exactly he wanted. So there's all of that to come. There's all of those reveals to come. Oh, I'm so excited. Bring it on. Bring it on. The Panesars are finally being the characters that we want them to be, and this is only the beginning. So bring it on. Yes.
So we are now talking about Jay and Honey and their relationship breakdown. So I'm presuming I think we're all pretty pleased with this outcome, let's be honest with you. But it was done in a nice way, wasn't it? It wasn't done in a very suspicious way. There was a bit of mistake by Billy and by Lexi and Lola. That they all thought, they thought that Jay had cheated on Honey, but he hadn't. But then Honey took him to one side, back to the flat, and kind of said, you know what, we're both two different people. We're both going in different directions. You're still quite young. You want your own children. I'm now a career woman working at the market. So I think we should break. So I thought it was a really nice amicable. I thought it was a real amicable breakup between them both. Yeah. So it made sense.
It was nice. You know, it wasn't anything too horrific for either of them. So they can still technically be friends in the future and kind of keep that original relationship that they once had, and they can both sort of just laugh occasionally, like, "Do you remember when we were an item? How ridiculous was that?" So I mean, I really liked the actual breakup scene. I thought that was quite well handled. The sort of just Jay being upset by it, and just done really nicely, and nothing too much, just as two humans would break up. It felt, felt sort of nice and natural. So it now kind of leaves the door open for Jay and Lola to sort of return as they were. How long to walk before Jay and Lola get back together again? I mean, to be fair, when we were betting on Avery's death, we kind of massively underestimated how quickly the story was going to go. So I'm going to say the first 2 minutes of Monday's episode.
I mean, yes, that's exactly right. We've got Lola's, I don't think this is a spoiler, but Lola's impending death coming up very soon. And, and so I'm sure they're going to get them together quite quickly, just so that she has that support unit that will inevitably be Jay. I think it'd be nice. It's finally happening. Jay's getting a storyline where he can actually show off his acting and show off his acting chops a little bit. It's been a while. We knew it's in him. We know he can do it. He's more than just a Savaloy. And so we need him to kind of like be able to do this storyline. And I hope he will do it the justice it deserves. And I've got 100% confidence that he will have it, will do it. But did that I suppose the fact that Lola was the one who said to him, like, you've always wanted children. Does this mean that he's going to become the paternal father of Lexi as well? Is this something? Because Lexi seemed to take an interest in Jay's relationship this week as well. So I feel like they're trying to be bonded together quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. It would make quite a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Because Jay has always sort of had a really great relationship with the kids of Albert Square. Like even the Mitchell kids. Like I loved it. I remember his relationship with Will and Janet. As they've been growing up has been lovely. We saw Janet again this week for the first time in ages. That was lovely. It's always nice to see lovely Queen Janet, as she has grown up. Mind if his kids do this? Same as Ricky, don't it? When you don't see these kids for months on screen, and all of a sudden they've grown 6 foot. Honestly, it's ridiculous. So I hope
either that or they have a new face. Forward.
Yeah, which Janet remains unrecasted. Long may that remain.
Good. Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Jay sort of get his hands in with the kids, because I think he'd be I think Joe would be an excellent dad. You know what I mean? Joe would be an excellent dad. I think not that sort of story. He's just come off the register. So we don't know. None of that. But I think he would be. I think Joe would be an excellent father. I really do. And it would be nice to sort of, if moving forward, Jay sort of starts to think, do you know what? I think it's time for me to start thinking about that sort of thing. So yeah, I think there's a nice future for Jay once he's got over this initial devastation of what he's got to come. So yeah.
Do you think that there is time for Jay and Lola to get together and have a child of their own?
No.
Before the story? No.
9 months.
Is it happening quite
9 months?
Yeah, I don't know how quickly the story's coming up though for Lola. I don't know. Have they given a kind of time frame for
I expect they're dead by the end of next week.
Do you? By the time you finish the tea.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna. They're not gonna have time to do a whole pregnancy storyline. I don't think.
I don't know.
No, I don't.
It'd be nice for him to have a kid, and it would be kind of devastating to have a single dad who's now got to be holding a child. A single dad,
never done that before, have you, Alex?
Like that. Like holding a puppy, isn't it? And yeah, I mean, I just think that'd be a lovely story. But as you say, I don't know what the time frame is with Lola's story.
No, I don't think they're gonna have time to do that. Unfortunately.
Oh well, but yes, thank goodness for the breakup of Jay and Honey. I mean, it wasn't a popular decision, really, was it? Let's be honest.
You loved it when it first started. Let's not pretend.
I did. I'm not saying I didn't like it, but I kind of get on board with why people didn't like it, and so yes, that's the end. I'm afraid of Johnny. Or Hey, as they became affectionately known.
Hey ho.
So it's that time again, everyone. It's time to talk about the Mitchells because we can't go a week without them. And yes, yet again, Ben is kind of slovenly, kind of walking around the square, feeling a little bit sorry for himself. He's now taken to drugs. Which he likes to partake whenever he's kind of around people he doesn't like. So he's found Sam has been, of course, He's found out Sam has been pushing drugs. Aw, you must like me.
I'm joking. Love you.
Good.
Mate. Love you.
He spotted that Sam has been pushing drugs at the club. He hinted at Phil that Phil needs to keep an eye on Sam, but Sam has kind of persuaded Phil into thinking that actually she's keeping an eye on Ben. At the same time, behind Phil's back, she's also convinced Ben to get into cahoots with her to finally take over the Mitchell empire. The whole reason Ben was introduced in the soap, as we've mentioned a few times before, around about 4 years ago. So let's start with that then, before we get into the more interesting kind of Zacky stuff, because we found out more stuff about Gavin as well this week.
Yes, we did. Yes. We'll come on to that. However, there was a brief thing I was to talk about with Ben, was the scene between him and Phil, where where Phil spoke to him about what he had discovered last week from Kathy. That happened at the start of the week.
Yes.
I have to say, I did quite like that scene. I thought it nailed Phil very well, because especially when he turned around and was like, "I know what it's like with you lot and your sex," and it was just that sort of complete. Yeah, but it was like that's exactly what I'd expect of Phil, and that's. Sort of, I like that. I'm not. Obviously, Phil is a dinosaur, and Phil's attitude towards the homosexual community should not really be encouraged. However, I like the consistency of it, and it's just that is exactly how I expected Phil to deal with it. In terms of like, Phil didn't know how to say it, and just didn't know how to go about it, and it just I liked that. That's the side of Ben and Phil I always enjoy, that sort of awkwardness where they can never really talk properly, and all they can do is either argue or just sort of avert around the subject.
Exactly. You could tell Phil didn't want to talk about it, and Ben read the room. Ben read the room and so instantly said, "Oh no, what Mum Kathy said, it wasn't rape. It was just, I'd had too much to drink and, I kind of was a bit out of it, but it was fine. It happened." And so it's, and Phil looked a little bit relieved by that as well, didn't he? Like, I
love how Ben just absolutely loves making Phil as uncomfortable as he possibly can by talking about his sex life.
I know, he talked about his sex life, didn't he?
He loves doing that to Phil, doesn't he? He loves watching Phil squirm.
Because that relationship between Ben and Phil is still, it's still now, isn't it? It's like he still feels like he's just kind of an unwanted piece in Phil's life. When Ben was first introduced, he wasn't. He was loved. He really wanted, Phil really wanted to have be part of Ben's life, and it's just slowly kind of been pulled away from him as Phil's kind of moved on with different families and had a kind of ready-made life presented to him, and that ready-made life seems to be more palatable for him than perhaps Ben it can be now, because Ben is so damaged, so damn damaged.
So damaged, so fragile. But what's also interesting as well was a lovely scene between Tommy and Ben this week. Now I say lovely, I'm talking about after Ben threatened to beat up a child. I'm talking about after that. Where Tommy was all of a sudden the most sensible child that's ever lived, and basically said to Ben, "You really don't need to take drugs. Oh, these are drugs, are they? Yeah, I recognise that these are drugs. Because I live in Walford. I've seen this before. And there was a really nice moment between them. And I think it was kind of interesting because you could go down the path of Ben just absolutely hating Tommy because, as you say, with this relationship with Ben and Phil has always sort of wanted the sort of straight lad son to have. And, I think we used to joke quite a bit. All Phil really wants is to be able to kick around a football with a boy, and Ben's never given him that. And I do like the relationship I say that I like the relationship that, like, this whole sort of prodigy thing that Tommy has got with Phil at the moment. I know you're not a fan
Tommy's
of that
replaced
sort of thing.
Denny, hasn't he?
Well,
Tommy has replaced Denny, both writing wise and plot wise, let's be honest. Denny's
character.
Denny's death, again, it's questionable whether it should have happened or not. However, I agree with you. I think Tommy, because he's still quite young, he's still got a little bit more moulding to do. So I'll be interested to see how far Tommy will want to impress Phil. Because at the moment, he feels like he does want to impress Phil. But I think would he look at Ben and think, well, actually,
exactly, that's what I think. I think that'll be a really interesting development. If Tommy looks at Ben and thinks, do I want to become that? Really? I think I might kind of, and especially now that Kat and Phil are presumably going to break up at some point, now Alfie's on his way back. It'll be interesting to see if Tommy sort of wants to still have Phil in his life once Alfie returns. I can see that being quite one of the main bones of contention, because Phil has completely forgotten about Raymond. It'll be interesting to sort of see what happens with Phil's priorities when Alfie comes back.
Poor Raymond. But I completely forgot about Raymond, funnily enough.
I know, so did Phil.
After he named all those taxi cabs after Raymond, and now he's he's just a bit dust, nothing at all. So
around Walford, like children looking for their parents, like a character without an author. So sad.
Little orphans everywhere. So, I mean, again, it's the progression of Ben's kind of continued downfall. He's not doing much.
He's not well, is he?
He's not well. I mean, it's all kind of related to obviously what has happened to him. You said when I was talking to you about how Zack punched Ben in the face that you cheered for Zack, and that's not really how you should feel. Do you feel like this story is losing its grip a little bit?
I mean, it's just the fact that I should have so much more sympathy towards Ben. It's just like even the moments where he was sort of walking in, with Chelsea and Dottie, and just demanding that they pour him a drink, and like just being an arsehole. It's kind of just like, he's not a likable person. Ben Mitchell is an arsehole, and I struggle to. I mean, obviously, it goes without saying that I'm sympathetic towards a rape victim, but when he acts like an arsehole all the time, like that. And it's all very. And you can sort of see some of the defenders online say, "Oh, sassy Ben's back. Sassy Ben's back." That's not him being sassy.
Sassy?
He literally is walking in and bullying people. He's bullying people. Bullying.
But he bullied Peter. To the point. But the thing is that his bullying is successful because Kathy is kind of allowing it to happen. And she's also this week, she got money up. Again, we'll talk about this in a minute with Zack's story. So she was able to buy out the garage from Kheerat and Vinny because they were like, we don't want anything to do with the Mitchells anymore after the revelation last week. They destroyed the sign, and Kathy was like, I haven't got the money. Peter's taken all the money. So she she got money from Gavin's sister, Sally. So Kathy's mopping up Ben's problems, mopping up Ben's mistakes. So Ben's allowed to carry on making them. And it's weird that, like, when we're seeing the Linda story, Nancy basically said to her, like, no, I'm done. And we were both saying, well, that was a bit harsh. That was a bit mean. But now I'm kind of like and yet now I'm thinking, actually, I wish Kathy had the balls to do that. And even Rocky is saying to Kathy, it's like, how many times are you going to carry on doing this for Ben? How many times?
We're clearly supposed to be hating Rocky for saying that to Kathy, aren't we?
But this is my point. But why are we meant to be feeling that way? Why are we meant to be feeling that way? Surely that's the wrong response. We should be feeling sympathetic toward Ben, but we shouldn't be feeling sorry for Ben right now, because what Ben's doing is nasty and unfair. And kind of
this is what I mean, though. It's like I seriously wondered, because they are doing this clearly so deliberately with Ben's character and just making him out like an arsehole to absolutely everybody. I have to sort of wonder, like, are they trying to make us sympathise with him? Are they just trying to make that a really difficult sort of thing? Like, we're wondering whether we should be sympathetic towards him in terms of his personality rather than the event itself, obviously. Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange thing.
Do you think this is heading? Because this is very similar. Again, it's echoes of the past to classic EastEnders right now, and we're really ramping ourselves up toward the Who Shot Phil storyline. And the whole storyline was about how Phil basically made himself so unlikable by everyone on the square that there was hundreds of candidates who could have shot Phil. Do you think we're heading that way? They're doing it again with Ben.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't hate it. However, then you've got to question the fact that, why are they doing that to a rape victim? So it kind of works both ways. It's sort of just like, well, why do you want us to go into a direction where we're looking forward to someone who's been raped, like being attacked by somebody, and we want to work out? It's all very odd. It's all
but
very
watering down what was meant to be the whole point of the story as well, which again has been an argument by us. It's like we're losing direction here. It's scaringly getting the Grey and Chantel story.
Well, this is the thing, and this is what I've always meant when I said that this is the danger of doing issue after issue after issue after issue after issue storyline. It loses its impact completely, because you end up having to do the subject of male rape. Yeah, fantastic. That's it's a big topic. It's an underrepresented topic, and if you do a story like that right, it can sincerely help people. I don't know how helpful the way that this story has been done is to people who have been in that situation. I don't know. Yes, you are seeing somebody in kind of lashing out. That's understandable, but where is all the other aspects of it? Where is the process of recovery from that? Now, I get turning to the drug and trying to forget it all and everything, and you've got to sort of kind of keep it rooted in character as well. I understand that. So realistically, Ben isn't the sort of person who would, immediately sort of pick himself up, brush himself down and decide, right, okay, time to go to the police and sort that out. That's not the Ben way. It's not the Mitchell way. And it would be ridiculous of us to kind of applaud it if it were to go like that, because it wouldn't be in character. Unfortunately, they've also gone so far the other way of making Ben as unlikable as possible that it sort of makes you wonder, why are they doing it like that? So, I don't know.
Yeah, so if it's out of Ben's character, which is also a debate that people are having online, was it right to use Ben as the ambassador for talking about male rape? Because if it's out of character for Ben to be in that way, surely then Ben was the wrong character to choose to do it.
Well, this is the thing. It sort of makes you wonder, what were they actually hoping to get out of the storyline when they made it? Were they hoping to do a moving story about somebody dealing with rape, or were they wanting to give Ben another reason to shout and be angry at people? Because if the reason for that was, if the answer to that is reason B, then that is not the right reason to do that sort of story, and that is why issue storylines need to be used so sparingly and carefully, because otherwise we fall into this category, similarly with the domestic violence storyline, where it loses its impact and the whole point of its genesis. So there we are. I mean, we will see where this goes. I feel like the story is slowly, and I mean slowly, starting to kind of go in sort of the right direction, because it's kind of, you have to sort of ask yourself, well, how much further can Ben fall, really? Because apart from, Lewis returning and Ben killing him, that's about as low down as it can go now. So, Ben's on drugs, he's lashing out at everybody that's around him, he's upsetting his family, he's punched his mother. So how much further is there for him to fall, really? Fair. No, not on purpose. No. But, how much further is there for him to fall, really? Can it get much worse for Ben than this? I don't know. So
we'll just have to wait and see.
Maybe we're starting to make the turn, but there you go.
Yeah, Chris has inherited this story. We must remember, Chris didn't. Yes. This isn't a Chris Clenshaw story. This was inherited.
Not that we're Clennis defenders, but we really.
No, we're not. But again. Is this kind of like what when you kind of spill like red wine on like a kind of a marble floor? You're just kind of pushing it around a little bit. That's kind of what's going on right now. That's a real weird thing. Marble floor. Anyone can relate to that. I'm sure we've all got a marble floor at home.
I mean, I do that every time I visit my Colosseum.
Hey, look, listen. There's another thing I want to talk about before we talk about Zack, and that is the theatrical detective this week, who came into Peggy's and just went, this is the best, and I mean, that made my day. I loved him. And then,
great.
are you Wednesday Addams? It's like, brilliant. I thought I was watching EastEnders the opera.
Loved him.
Did you enjoy?
Loved him.
You loved him
Bring
too.
him back. I want him to be Keeble's camp little sidekick.
I thought that too. So we were saying about Zack then, and
yes.
Zack, we've learned a bit about the history of Gavin. Zack, we found out that Gavin has two sisters. The sister who's still alive, Sally, who's given Kathy the money, so she can buy out the garage. And obviously there was Margaret, which was the great, wonderful scene around the hotel when they were chasing one another with Sharon and Kathy.
Landed on the car.
Love it. Yeah, landed on the car. Perfect. Zack, from the past, we know has two more siblings. We don't know if it's a brother and sister, or brother and brother. Is this an indication that we could be building up Zack's family? Because it feels like Sharon's kind of on her own at the moment, and I don't know what they're doing with her and Phil right now. But
well, you do know what they're doing with her and Phil, don't you? Really, in the long run, you know.
We don't know for certain
at some point.
But we don't know for. No, I don't. I feel like we don't know for certainty. But either way, if Sharon does get back together with Phil, it does leave Zack then kind of as an isolated character. But it does leave Zack as an isolated character. So is this a way of building him up? Can Sally come into the scene? Could his siblings come in?
Possibly. I mean, would Sharon be related to any of them then, or is it sort of just half? How would that work? Would Sharon be related to them then in that case then?
Well, yes, because obviously Gavin is Sharon's dad, who he sold off in a poker game to Den. Love.
As you do.
So yes, of course, yes, should be related. Zack's brothers and sisters, whatever.
Yeah. So
technically,
because I was quite excited by the fact that Sharon seemed to be going in a brand new direction, because it was the first kind of fresh new direction that Sharon had in years. And it was one of the things that I do think was a shame was the acting of Jada, because that indicates that new direction has sort of had the door closed on it, because presumably Jada is going to take her kid with her when she goes. So you're sort of wondering, well, what is the plan with Sharon? What, however, is not in doubt is how much they are planning on building Zack up. Because this week was a really, 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 and very similar to what we kind of had with Suki and Eve, where it was just a week of character building and making these characters more layered and bringing in elements to them that just make them interesting. And there was this really nice stuff where you sort of... It's always been mad to me that Kathy and Zack have never really had a conversation about Gavin, ever.
I know, isn't it just?
And this week they did. And Kathy apologised, for kind of doing the whole money thing, explained about Ben after Zack had just punched him because Ben was being an arse to him. And there was just this really nice moment, because all week Zack was after getting his car back, Lucinda, which is such a great name for a car, isn't it? It's like Lucinda or Christine. That's what all cars should be named. And there was just this kind of nice kind of little character journey. One of those little character journeys throughout the week that we haven't seen for a while, where you'll start a character with wanting something at the start of the week, but then by the end of the week he's realised that he doesn't want that, and it was just a sort of moment of development for Zack as he sort of let go of the past, and that kind of symbolic ripping up of the photo of Lucinda was just a really nice moment, and I really, really liked it.
Yep.
And if more moments like that are coming this week, in the future, for these characters that have been a little bit kind of underdeveloped over the past couple of years, then I can't wait to see it.
I thought it was an interesting line that Sharon said to Zack, which was, "Don't let Gavin control your life," and that's why I kind of brought up the kind of like siblings and bits and pieces, because obviously Sharon had no link to Gavin whatsoever. She grew up as a Watts, and with Ben and Angie in the pub. Through their faults, they brought her up quite well. Sharon's quite feisty, quite able to look after herself. But obviously Zack was in and out of care, but presumably he did have some kind of relationship with Gavin. We've heard him talk about Gavin and his dad, his relationship, and just it felt like that line wasn't a throwaway line this week. I felt like that having talked about his family a little bit this week, as you say, the development of the character, I just couldn't help but think that maybe we're going to see a few characters coming into Zack's life, his family, and I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind it,
but I got the sense this week that Zack's character journey was sort of him getting over his past and looking to the future, So I don't know whether it would be something that he would necessarily want to pursue. I mean, obviously these characters can just appear in someone's life, and they can, in other ways, a bit like Zack did with Sharon. But I think it would be. I mean, I'm all up for building Zack up, as we know. Aside from the shallow reasons, Zack is a great character, and he is a great character because he is a great character because he clearly works with anybody. He's one of those really easy characters to sort of just slot into anybody's sort of character group. Did you notice a bit of a free show between him and Chelsea this week? I thought there was a bit of a moment.
Yes, there was kind of banter and friendly kind of flirting with one another. I'm always
up for sort of those conventional sort of like, a straight guy and a straight woman. I'm all up for them just being mates. I would love that as well because that does happen in real life, believe it or not. But I could also sort of see them together because I can imagine Chelsea wanting to be with someone like Zack. So, either way, I'm happy with where it goes, and it would give Chelsea a sort of nice new direction because Whitney obviously is going to be pursuing Finley before too long. So that sort of thing between those two will be sorted out in the coming weeks.
Poor Finley.
He don't know what's coming.
Oh, he doesn't. Oh God, Whitney. If she starts singing "Whole Again," I swear, it's just all going to go to pot. It's all going to go to pot. It's funny because off the microphones when we talk to each other before we record, we were both talking about like the eras. The era preceded this one with the John Sen era, and we're coming to the Crenshaw era. And we kind of both agreed that John Sen had a knack of introducing interesting characters. Yeah, but he didn't quite have the knack of how to develop them. And it seems as though Chris Crenshaw has that knack. He knows how to develop things. So it's quite nice that he's taking the pick of the bunch, which for me is Panasars, is Zack, and he's rolling with it. So I'm glad that he's doing it.
Yeah, one thing I will also always say, I know we gave the Johnson era a lot of stick, and some of it was was justified. I think I believe. Not that we ever like to go after anybody personally, except Sean O'Connor. But it's. But
let's not get to there yet. That's a whole new show.
You wait. But one thing I will always say about the Johnson era is that I think that his new characters that he brought in were all pretty damn good. The Panasars are a family that really excite me, and they have done even when they were kind of being underdeveloped in another era. I was really excited by all of them. Eve really excites me. Zack really excites me in many ways. And I, all these new characters he brought in, I love. So, and Rocky, for example, Harvey, the Monroes, we love the Monroes. So he was great at bringing in these new characters. Unfortunately, Clarence doesn't quite agree about the Monroes. But it'd be interesting to sort of see where Harvey goes from here. If Clarence is going to come in and sort of start developing these characters, the fact that he's walked in his first few weeks and immediately we're being thrown into a massive Panasar story. Bodes very, very well to me. That's exciting. So I look forward to the future. As we will go into when we go into I Ain't One to Gossip in a moment, we will proper wax lyrical about how excited we are for the future. But this story was lovely. Liked it a lot.
So this is the part of the show where we have the tiny, weeny, itty bitty stories. So small. And we're kicking off then with Kat's story. Lily caught Kat writing invitations, looking longingly at this invitation that she'd written out for Zoe. And Lily was like, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to go on Facebook and find Auntie Zoe." And she did. And she arranged for Kat to meet her, but Kat wasn't very pleased with that outcome. And as it happens,
in the country shopping.
She was in London, wasn't she? In Harrods or something like that.
Shocking.
There was a small part of me that thought to myself, you know what? Wouldn't it be amazing if Zoe did? But then there was another part of me that is like, I'm watching this on a Monday evening, and I think if that had happened, I would have seen that on Twitter by now. So I knew that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. So unfortunately, again, another curse of the box sets that you can't really do these kind of fun surprises. I mean, if it wasn't a box set and they kind of had Zoe on there, that would have been fantastic. That would have been great. I would have really enjoyed that. Yeah. No, not so much for you.
Well, no, I think that this whole thing with Zoe, it's something that, like, it feels like every new producer that comes in, they have this little moment where they'll have Kat sort of mourn her relationship with Zoe, and then nothing ever gets done about it.
So it's almost like something of nothing, really. Yeah,
it's kind of like, well, what is the Zoe stuff ever going to be sort of concluded? Like, are they ever going to bring Zoe back? I wouldn't hate a recast, to be honest. If I'm perfectly honest, I wouldn't. If Michelle Ryan doesn't want to return, I wouldn't kick off about a recast. In all honesty, because let's be right, this you're not going to like me saying this, but let's be fair. Zoe's most iconic moment was the "You ain't my mother, yes I am" thing, and that's the moment that everyone remembers about Zoe.
But that's the biggest. That is the iconic moment of EastEnders. Let's be honest. Yeah. That is the iconic. Yeah. So if you recast Zoe, it would feel a bit weird, don't you think? That's the moment. If you talk to anyone, I know. Yeah. But if you talk to anyone about EastEnders, that's the first thing they say. I ain't your mother. Yes, I am. Yeah, first thing, without doubt. And so to recast Zoe, I think would be really difficult. It's the Michelle Fowler again, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yes, that shouldn't have happened either. I don't know. It's sort of. I mean, we kind of very quickly got established that no Slaters were really going to the wedding. But literally in one line, Len's not coming and I was little Mo. And that was it. So it was like, right, okay, got it. They're not coming.
But I'll be talking about that in I Want to Gossip in a little bit. So let's talk about that a little bit later, right?
Yes. But yeah, it's a nice stuff with Lily this week. Sort of just trying to help her family, and Kat being furious, and Stacey sort of closing her eyes and wishing that life was easier. So that was nice. I like all that. I like all that sort of stuff. It was nice. And Kat by the end of the week has sort of, kind of gotten over it. But this is what I mean. This is what Kat often does, that she'll have these moments where she'll sort of mourn her relationship with Zoe and then not do anything about it. And just sort of, by the end of the week, she'll sort of just shrug her shoulders and go, oh, well, that's life. I guess I don't talk to Zoe. And then it's really touched on again. So I'm wondering whether this time will be different and we will start to sort of pursue the relationship between Kat and Zoe. But can you do that really without Zoe ever coming back? And if Michelle Ryan doesn't want to return, then I'm sort of like, well, stop bringing it up then. You know what I mean?
No, I do see what you mean. I just think that, I don't know. We'll talk about it. I don't want to gossip. Let's just say that much. And so the final tiny little itty bitty story is the Callum and Stuart story. Karen's kind of been thrown into the mix as well, and she's been handing out or posting flyers of postnatal depression. Detective Callum picked up the post from the door, took it to the side of the kitchen, and didn't see that poster. So still has no clue what Stuart's problem is. But thankfully for all of us, he's had that conversation now with Karen. But not before he gave Stuart a bacon sandwich with all the works, which is red and brown sauce, Rob, but not mayonnaise.
No mayo.
Because they're proper sane people. So this is
bacon and egg. What is your issue?
It's clearly this is Stuart's final story now, and we're going to see the end of this. We've talked about it just again off air. When Stuart's going, what's going to happen with Callum? I mean, this is Callum's big story. This is Callum's story, I guess, for this year now. What's going to happen?
I mean, presumably Callum and Ben are going to go back together because that's what we're all waiting for, obviously. And then sort of that. That's what I think that's the only thing that Callum can really do at this point, isn't it? Like he'll get back with Callum once all his family have gone. I mean, obviously Vi is still sort of hanging around, but I don't know whether Vi is going to stay around. I don't know. Yeah, and I just think it's a shame. I'd love Callum to sort of have some time on his own to sort of develop as a character again, rather than just being Ben's boyfriend, which is kind of what he turned into a lot over the past couple of years. It would be nice for him to have that moment where he's able to be really built up as his own person. Yeah, at some point, I can't argue with it. At some point, he's going to get back with Ben. Of course he is. But it would be nice for him to kind of go back a fuller person and a fuller character. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Stuart kind of obviously is massively kind of kicking off about the idea of him having postnatal depression because only women get it, obviously.
Yes, which is understandable since he also had breast cancer, which is also kind of like
he's kind of being thrown all these kind of things, so we're like, massively demasculating it. This is what a show. Yeah, so that's kind of going on. So I don't know how much longer we've got Stuart for. So I don't really know kind of how is his story going to end, do you think? Like what happens with Stuart?
I think he's just going to go and try to find, I think he's going to kind of
find Rainey or find himself.
Find Rainey. No, yeah. I mean, he found himself that other time, didn't he? When he started taking those placebo pills and he believed that was curing his cancer when he went to that kind of camp thing, whatever. Camp as in tents, not camp as in, ooh, Stuart. Yeah, I just feel like it's not long now. You know, like I said to you last week, I think is like there's all the characters that are meant to be leaving seem to be popping 1 week at a time. And I don't think Stuart's long now for this. So it's a shame. I loved Stuart's character. I loved Rainey and Stuart. I'll be completely honest with you. I think that they were a wasted opportunity. I get that Clenshaw kind of wanted to kind of start some. It's nice for a producer to come in and actually start their own stuff as well. So I kind of get that he kind of thought that I don't really have much to do with Stuart Rainey, so perhaps I could do more things elsewhere. So
I think we might see Rainey again one more time before Stuart leaves. If I'm honest, I think that she might come back.
I hope so.
You know, a bit like Tiffany did with Keegan. I think we might get a moment like that. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? And then they all sort of just go off into the sunset together. So that would be nice to kind of have that moment of, that they're all happily living together somewhere, ready for maybe a return one day. That would be quite nice.
Fingers crossed. So yes. So I think it's been a good week. I think we've gushed quite a lot throughout the podcast about how much we're enjoying Chris Clenshaw,
and more to come.
His claws, and more to come indeed, and a couple more of Clenshaw decisions coming up now, as we're going to talk about some big news that came this past week on I Ain't One to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
So, as mentioned, two big stories were released this week. Starting off with the first one, which is Bobby Brazier, the son of Jade Goody, is coming into the soap as Freddie Slater, the son of Little Mo Slater. Just give a bit of background information, someone who may or may not know. Freddie Slater was conceived, unfortunately, when Little Mo was raped at the Queen Vic one evening by Graham Foster. She was married to Billy Mitchell at the time. Billy Mitchell couldn't accept that he was going to father the child of another man, and so they subsequently divorced, which kind of led to then Little Mo's exit from the show. Little Mo, of course, played by Casey Ainsworth. I've love this news. I adore this news. I mean, it's a legacy character, tick.
Yes.
It could introduce perhaps more characters, tick. And it feels different to the Liam story a little bit, because it feels like it feels like there's a purpose for him to be here, rather than let's just throw him in because we know him from the past. There's a purpose, and it genuinely feels like there's a purpose here. I mean, let's first of all talk about Little Mo perhaps returning, because that's the thing that I would be most excited about.
Oh, I know.
If it's true, they're keeping it very tight-lipped.
I know. I would love
Casey
it.
Ainsworth.
I would love it.
Oh, such a wonderful actress. And she's so teasing as well. On Twitter, she keeps saying, oh, no, it's not happening. Oh, maybe I could do this story one day. Oh, there's something like that. Love it. Absolutely love it. Big news. Are you as excited about this casting as I am?
I'm very excited. I think this is... It came out of left field a little bit. I wasn't expecting this. But it is exciting. I think it's going to be interesting to sort of... Because I've got to be honest, I always thought having Little Mo raped for a second time was one of the show's most ill-judged decisions ever. It wasn't a decision I was a fan of at all, and it sort of felt that the show kind of instantly regretted it as well, because Little Mo sort of left quite, But having Freddie return in this, guys, also does give them the opportunity to sort of, because you've instantly got to wonder what sort of upbringing has Freddie had. When you've got a mum like Little Mo, who obviously went through a hell of a lot of trauma when she was on Albert Square, obviously the stuff that happened with Trevor and then with Graham. You've sort of got to wonder, what sort of mum would Little Mo be? And I kind of wonder whether Little Mo would be quite a smothering mother and wanting to keep Freddie safe from all the nasty evils of the world. So she will definitely, I think, have told Freddie that Billy is his dad, maybe. Or, definitely would have referred to Billy in terms of, it certainly kind of spoke up her relationship with Billy and kind of given Freddie the idea. I don't think that she would have told Freddie that he's the product of rape. So I think it'd be quite interesting for Freddie to sort of come back and discover that. If he's kind of got it into his head that maybe Billy is his dad, so he arrives on the square looking for his father. It kind of begs the question, well, why he's never done that before? But hey ho. And then
he has just turned 18, to be fair.
Yeah,
so it's kind of there is an argument there to say that I don't think legally, like he I mean, I suppose it's when you're adopted, you don't need to find your actual parents, but I just feel like 18 seems like a reasonable age for someone to come back. To look for their father.
I mean, also what I'm excited about is his character description. He's been described as energetic, chaotic, but very spiritual. And that's like, so that's something, normally when these sort of young, good-looking blokes, and he is he's a very handsome boy, to be fair. Like, he will certainly send a few hearts for fluttering when he arrives on the square, I have no doubt. But normally when those sorts of characters are revealed, you always get, like, things written in cheeky chappy, and who will cause lots of heartache throughout the square. And none of that's been mentioned. He's a very spiritual sort of person. And I love it when a new character... It's similar in the sort of vein to Felix, a sort of character that the show's never done before, which instantly makes them exciting and interesting. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing Freddie and sort of seeing where he goes. I tell you what, Alexander, I know you're not a massive fan of Billy Mitchell. He's got a lot coming up,
hasn't he? Got a lot on his plate coming. Stuff. You're absolutely right. I know that. Yeah, I must say, my argument about Billy Mitchell has always been that he's just been there all the time, and his one story has been Honey. And that's a really interesting. If they were to bring back Little Mo, there could be a love triangle simmering here between Honey.
It feels weird to bring Freddie back and not Little Mo at some point. I don't think we're going to get Little Mo back full time. I don't think that's on the cards. But I do think it would be nice to sort of bring Little Mo back for an episode or two. Because if they are going to reveal, if Freddie is going to discover how exactly, who his father was and how all that happened, and we're going to see that on screen, it would seem very remiss of Little Mo not to be there for that moment. Of
course,
because if Freddie's going to be a character. Yeah, because if Freddie's going to be a new regular character, that means presumably him and Little Mo are falling out in some way because he now wants to live away from her. So I think that moment needs to happen. It's going to be. I will be kind of intrigued as to how that wouldn't happen. Because it has to.
I agree. I think it has to happen. And what about other then Slaters? I said, as I was alluding to with the cat story. So what about other Slaters? Could they not come back for maybe 1 or 2 episodes?
Maybe.
Obviously, Zoe, Lynn, Belinda. I'd love to see them all come back.
I'd love to see Belinda.
I would too. She went off to Italy, went tooting along.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get a Lynn return, but certainly.
Yes, because of the actress is a bit tricky.
Bless her. But certainly Little Mo, I think, needs to, because I think Little Mo is one of those characters that the fans have wanted to come back for years because she was such a popular character and she's remembered so heavily. Yeah, I loved Little Mo. I thought Casey Ainsworth gave an incredible.
And rewatching her. Rewatching her now on Classic EastEnders, honest to goodness, she is just such. She makes the scene as soon as she comes in. But then, to be fair, all the Slaters at the moment, they feel fresh, they feel new, they feel exciting on Classic EastEnders. So all their stories are quite.
Imagine that when the Slaters first arrived on the square.
That was brilliant. John York's. Honestly,
piece de résistance.
Chef's kiss. It was.
So yes, we shall see what happens with that. I'm very excited to meet Freddie. That's all very exciting. Now with the Phil and Kat wedding coming up, presumably this is when we're going to start kind of going in this direction. Again, it's another male casting. So Clenners is really building up the male cast in EastEnders at the moment.
A young casting as well. Yeah, so which I think is the right direction to take the show. I really do. I think that the audience needs to be growing right now is the younger audience. So I'm so glad that Chris Crenshaw is kind of seeing it's reflective of the idea is reflective. Bring back E20, bring back the online soap. that's what we all want to see more of.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's one bit of very exciting news. And this week, there has been another piece of ridiculously exciting news announced. EastEnders is currently filming scenes for a special flashback episode centred around the Mitchell family that will air this autumn. Jamie Winston, who previously took on the role of Dame Barbara Windsor in BBC biopic Babs, will lead the cast as Peggy Mitchell. This unravelling of the Mitchells' checkered past marks the beginning of a tumultuous journey for Phil as he is forced to confront some long-forgotten truths. Oh, I'm so excited about this. This is amazing. Wow.
I know.
This is huge. This is huge because, for a start, I was on the radio about this. Don't know if you heard.
Yes, you were.
I'm so famous now. But one of the big things that's going to come out of this is that we are going to see all the Mitchell kids as sort of youngsters. We're going to have a young Phil. We're going to have a young Grant. We're going to have a young Sam. We're going to have young Ronnie and Roxy. And I can't wait for them to have a conversation about how they're going to fake their deaths as they get when they get older, if stuff ever needs to happen. So looking forward to that. But what we are also going to do is see some characters that have been mentioned throughout EastEnders history that we have never seen before. And I talk specifically of Eric Mitchell. Now, Eric is arguably one of the most important characters in EastEnders history because, in my view, he is the reason that a lot of iconic EastEnders characters, such as Peggy, Phil, Grant, Sam, he is the reason that they are the way they are. And you could argue that because of Eric Mitchell, a lot of the stories that came out of Phil, the Mitchell brothers, Peggy, are because of the way that Eric was. And we're also going to see Archie as a younger man as well. So all of this Mitchell stuff is coming back. So how exciting that we're actually going to meet Eric. I mean, I say exciting, he was a horrible human being. But, you know, how exciting that we're actually going to meet this bloke that we have learned so much about and yet know so little about.
It's
so
fascinating.
Exciting.
It's fascinating to me, the fact that I'm excited as well. I mean, I'm not the biggest Mitchell cheerleader necessarily. I feel like they've come, but this is my point. I felt like they've become a bit tired, but with this, the fact that they're actually doing this character building again, and then they're doing it with Phil's character, learning more about Phil, the way he is with Ben now, and so much more. It is really exciting, and it's something they used to do in the past. This was when they used to do it in like when it had its second peak era, which was in the 2000s. They used to do spin-offs all the time. What was it, Mo and Pat? They did the Mo and Pat when you learn about their history.
It's the last one that this was in this sort of vein, wasn't it? Like it's the last time that with something like this sort of happened was the Mo and Pat.
Kind of. They did something. They did a special episode also with Nick before his return in 2000, when you learn about when he started talking to his dad, who had died at that point, and so Charlie, and so Charlie was talking to him as a ghost, saying, "Oh, you're useless," and something like that. So they kind of did something then as well. So, and it's nice because it's kind of like it kind of takes you out of the world of Albert Square, and it lets you learn more about the characters that now live in it. And it's just, I don't know. I'm so pleased they're doing something like this.
I think
and again,
this is absolutely genius. I really
do too.
I think it's genius.
And the casting.
Well, I mean, having Jamie Winston play Peggy, that's a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me, I know you're not a huge Doctor Who fan, but it sort of reminds me that they brought David Bradley back when they were doing, they brought the actor David Bradley in to play William Hartnell, who was the first ever Doctor. When they were doing An Adventure of Time and Space, which was basically the story of how Doctor Who was made, and he played William Hartnell. And then what they did later, when they wanted to bring the first Doctor back, was have him play the first Doctor. Genius, but right. That's clever, and that's exactly what they've done with this. I think it's genius, absolutely genius. Chris Clenshaw, I love you. This is amazing, and I cannot wait to see this. And also, what this suggests as well, because the reason that this is all happening is because of this Phil and Keeble storyline, and Keeble has been mentioned in sort of the reasoning and the plot as to what's going on here. So even that alone means we've still got Keeble around for a good long while, and I love Keeble, so that's really, really exciting.
Imagine if they brought Keeble back as a child.
Well, I mean, who knows? But the other thing that I wanted to sort of thing is, what are we going to learn from this? Because it feels like the reason that you would do something like this is to reveal something new about the Mitchells, some long forgotten secrets, some long. What are we going to learn from this? What is the big skeleton in the closet that we're going to have revealed? Because surely that's why this is happening. And
it has to be
old reveal,
and it has to be somehow linked to then the current day EastEnders, what we're watching now. I'm guessing it's got something to do. Oh, do you reckon it's got something to do with Ben in one way or another? And so that's kind of like
everything else does.
I know. All roads lead to Ben, but you know what I mean. It's like somehow that it's something's.
Well, I think
because we know that Archie raped Ronnie, didn't she? Archie raped Ronnie.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been at this time though, because I think the 1979 Ronnie and Roxy would have been like kids, as in young kids, and I think Ronnie was raped when she was a bit older. So I mean, obviously we will see Archie, and I'm sure we will see some sort of. Some shadows of what a horrible person he was, because if him and Eric are together, Christ knows what those kids went through. But there's going to be something revealed. It kind of makes me wonder: are they going to reveal a new Mitchell that Eric had another? Because you can sort of see Eric being the sort of person that would have another kid somewhere. A bit like Charlie Cotton did. You can totally imagine him going off and having affairs.
Well, he did.
Maybe Keeble would be revealed to be a Mitchell. How amazing would that be?
Can you imagine?
Oh, Keeble Mitchell, Samantha Mitchell. Oh, no, she can't be because we've already got a Sam Mitchell, so it can't be that because we've already got a Sam Mitchell because it's Samantha Keeble.
You have two Sam Mitchells, just you'll be known as Keeble.
No, we had two Mo's.
Mo and Little Mo. We had two Billies. There was a.
We did, yes. Billy Jackson and Billy Mitchell. Yes.
That's it.
So
on screen at the same time.
Possible. Anything is possible.
Let
us know. Let us know in the comment section below what you think is coming for the Mitchells in this reveal. And are you excited to meet Freddie Slater? How excited are you in general at the show? I have to say, Alexander, I cannot remember the last time I was this excited about the show's future. I am absolutely buzzing. The show feels so exciting at the moment. It's great.
Yes.
We've got so much good stuff coming, and I feel like we've got stuff coming that we don't even know about yet. It's going to be huge and exciting, and I cannot wait for it to happen. Let us know in the comment section below, or by contacting us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos. And you can listen to us on Podbean, Apple, Spotify, or any of your favourite podcast sites. You can email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com.
Do it.
So excited.
Do it. Get in touch with us. We want to read your comments. We want to see your conversation. We want to read all your comments. Build up our Facebook group. Get on our Instagram. Get on our Twitter. Talk to us. We love getting your comments. And next week, hopefully, if there's been no big news, which there's no guarantee because there's big news all the time, we can read out some of your comments on I Want to Gossip and have a discussion about what you guys think as well.
Yes, indeed. Cannot wait to hear your thoughts. Are you excited, Alexander? Because I am.
I am excited. I am. And like you, it's been a long time coming, and I've been very hesitant to get too excited about Chris Crenshaw because I've been like, I got excited when John Sen was first in, and I got excited when Kate Oates was first in, and then it kind of went a bit boom. But you know what? The decisions seem to be there, and I'm no expert, and
it feels like he knows the show.
This is the point. He understands the show. Again, this is something we talk about all the time. John Sen, bless him, he had a good go. He introduced new characters, but then he kind of had to revert to the older characters and didn't know what to do with them. Chris Crenshaw knows what to do with the new characters, knows what to do with the older characters, and he just knows how to play the game that is EastEnders. So very excited. Nice. The Crenshaw claws can carry on tickling my
Crenshaw
fancy.
era has well and truly begun, and we shall be back next week to discuss the next chapter of the Crenshaw era of EastEnders. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him. Goodbye.
See ya, bye!